Folks, that's you all. We are live. Oh, why did I go full to Rob? That was
Hey,
Well, he's the star, right?
yeah. No, I was looking to do something else, and I was like, oh man, I got full folks. You got full Rob, and there was no reach around involved. I apologize. Next time we'll
All
make it
Rob
up.
all the time.
no,
Um.
last night there was no camera, so
Make it
Oh.
up for it.
Oh. And we're all wearing pants. If you believe that, I got a bridge to tell you. But in any case. Welcome to the Random Party Generator. It's almost a crossover with the Triple D
Yeah.
because Glenn Hallstrom was with me up in the Poconos, a little bit of a getaway. So a little bit of Arkansas in the Northeast. None other than Rob Conley, Mr. Bat in the Attic,
Arkansas.
hey, folks.
Flint Fire Forge below me. There you go. And the one and only Chubby Funster.
Hey.
No, Joe the lawyer. Right now, he is probably in a bar.
He's in clickbait jail.
Yeah, he's a clickbait. Right now, he's
The thumbnail police came and got him.
he's drinking his tears away because his latest video only got 40 views in like 8 hours.
Hey,
Well, I did watch the one on message boards.
Oh, then you're one of 40.
Okay, fine.
I'm just I know, and folks, we're busting on Joe because Joe had one of the most successful
Debut.
wasn't even you'd think it would be a debut video with the amount of he got like 15,000 views over the course of 3 or 4 days. It went viral, and Joe went hog wild. Okay,
Yeah.
if you remember like the days of like when VHS tape on wild, that
we're gonna
that
make one
was
for Joe.
that Joe better appreciate these jokes for making his effect at his expense because tonight, Joe, you are Matt Jackson, and this is your life. No, but
Oh,
we listen. We always pick on Matt because Matt never makes the
Well,
show.
we have proved that his shit does stink.
Yeah, he
Well,
has 17K on the one, 2K on the next one, 211 one, but it shows Rob the old thumbnail of Robin the Sherwood. So I guess if nobody's interested in that, then he does another clickbait one. He gets 1.1K, and I guess the last two didn't have clickbait ones. So I guess it's proven his point.
that you need clickbait to survive, and the thing is, the problem with and this wasn't, by the way, folks. This wasn't the we don't even know what we're going to be talking about tonight. Just so you all know.
Business as usual.
Yeah, no matter what the live stream, the only person that actually does, I think, any preparation is Jim Kitchen. But and Rachel, sorry, on Gamers Health has
I have one show where it's prepped.
it isn't with us.
Yeah.
But the problem with clickbait is once people get burned with your clickbait one too many times, you've lost them.
Yep.
So it's kind of it's dangerous to overuse because once your social media starts going, all you do is
And it's subjective too, because there are some clickbaity titles where some people go, yeah, that was, I understand that. And somebody's going, why did you put that as a title? Because
What I hate is not the. I just want them to get to the fucking point. If you're going to put that title,
right.
Don't bury the lead. That's the right term, right?
Right.
Don't bury the lead.
but you got to keep them for 30 seconds, Rob. You got the reason that there's that intro is that to get the view or to get the monetization, some of those things, and to get the ad revenue, you got to hold people for a little bit longer your time in the video. So you have to.
Is it 30 seconds? Because it's way longer than 30 seconds.
Well, some people abuse that. So I mean,
right.
They do.
I mean, listen, folks.
I can live with 30 seconds. It's just when it's like 5 minutes. Okay, have you not gotten
it's
to
like,
the point?
Yeah. And
then I say to the transcript.
Yeah, it's like, is this like another, like, are we getting into the whole Own the Family song right now and talk about Meathead, as an intro to your video?
I watch these old movie expose things they do, or TV expose and so on. It's like The Affair That Ended Bewitched. And then when you get on there, they're doing the whole history of the freaking show
to get you to wait to watch
for
to the
that,
end.
and that's like this much
so.
of the whole thing.
Folks, we're not here to give a definitive best practices on YouTube because this show is and this channel is seat of the pants. So we certainly don't expect,
And ORC
best
for
practice. Best
Mhm.
practices is not what we experience here, but certain things that YouTube expects from a monetized video
Mhm.
is that they expect the video to be at least 8 minutes long, and generally less than 20. There's a sweet spot.
Really?
Yeah, they want 8 minutes because 8 minutes is long enough to give a mid-roll ad. That's my understanding.
So they want it longer than 8 minutes, but not too long.
Right. They don't want so there's that sweet spot. Now, of course, shorts are a whole different kettle of fish. So there are certain exceptions to the rule, like Peter Santinello. This guy does videos that are anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and 15, but people expect that type of content from him, and usually you watch it from beginning to end. I'm sure he has a large watch time. I don't generally hide the lead. If I'm talking about stuff, you'll probably get the meat of the stuff within the first minute or two. And then if you want further details or further opinionating, you listen in. But there's a certain thing about YouTube and success. And I know it. During the OGL fiasco, this channel was on fire because I had sources and I had information that was extremely viable and accurate for the situation that was fast moving. There were a few channels that also had stuff like that. Roll for Combat was one. But the thing is, and I got great subs, and I had amazing traffic, and I demonetized my channel by mistake. My own foolishness behind the scenes trying to change a setting probably lost me a significant amount of money. However, the reality is it was the channel being accurate was what was good, but once the OGL calmed down, the traffic calmed down with it. Not down to where it was before. I kept a portion, but I didn't keep the 10 times traffic that I was looking at during the OGL. That's good. So I have always seen it that if you do well, that's great. Try to figure out what you did, but you're not going to replicate it. These things are like catching lightning in a bottle. When you do it, write it out. But we say this because this isn't just this channel. It's also Dungeon Craft. It's other YouTube channels that you see. Like I know they've accused Professor DM of using clickbaity titles. I will say today's video was clickbaity. Did anybody else see Professor DM's video today?
They're clickbaity, but they're usually worth watching.
They are, but he was like, "Is Matt Mercer next coming in? Is Matt Mercer going to be in charge of D&D?"
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, the first thing he says is, "No, but you're already in."
Right. Right. Well, he was addressing rumors, right? And so so the rumor's out there. So, but the bombshell, I think. Do you think there's a distinction between clickbait and sensationalism?
Yes.
It's a very fine line, if you ask me.
I prefer ballyhoo.
Yeah.
Look, it's like the tortoise. It's like the tortoise and the hare. If you want to, if you got the charisma and the talent, fine, be the hare, do the clickbait, drive up those numbers. But my preference is I'd rather be the tortoise, and if
you're my favorite tortoise.
Thank you, Greg. I will forever treasure that comment.
I think we should.
But I rather take my time and do whatever it is I'm doing. I mean, I obviously haven't put out any videos, so I'm not quite to have the same experience as you guys. But I rather take the time to do it right. And if it takes 10 minutes, it takes 10 minutes. If it takes 20 minutes, it takes 20 minutes. takes 5 minutes. And it's
Right.
5 minutes.
I mean, a lot of my recent news videos have been around 4 or 5 minutes because they were breaking news topics, and I don't sit down with a bunch of bullet points to get to. I'm like, this is breaking news. Let me get it out. Let people, know what's going on. If I need to expand upon it with a later video, we can always do that. But and by the way, and that's another issue in general on YouTube is the breaking news that is not verified. And people are in a rush to break the news that isn't verified, and that isn't clickbaity stuff. That is just sloppy journalism. It happens to probably everybody at some point, but some channels, Clownfish, do it more often than others.
I like watching them though.
For
For that and the Disney stuff, it's great.
it's like,
Go
hey,
ahead, Diane.
my mother heard this on the street corner. Oh my God! It's happening in D&D. Get it out there. You can't do that.
Ironically, I'm reading a history book of late 19th century America and the yellow rag journalism. There are like 1,000 newspapers, especially in places like New York City. They had the same problem.
Mhm.
They were all rushing to get stuff into print. And they had the same complaints, same
Those
problem.
reporters would do some underhanded things to get that story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the phrase, if it, well, and I think this is more news than newspaper, but they say if it bleeds, it leads.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So-
I've certainly heard that. And when I was an active officer and sergeant in the NYPD, the first thing that you were taught in the academy was you don't talk to the press. You don't talk to the press, even if you think it's innocuous what you're talking about, because you will be taken out of context. So, and that's it's part of the general game of journalism, especially these days, because they're looking for clicks. Before they were looking to sell newspapers, then they were looking to sell advertising on the evening news, and now they're looking to sell clicks. And the internet is a huge place, and while it is infinite, the eyes on is not infinite, and you often have to get eyes on. And as Fugly says, lies on the front page and retractions on page 10. That is very common. If you can even find the retraction, because there's no page 10 anymore. Okay, it's all online. So
And it's not just reporters either; it's everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I remember early on with my blog that I got something wrong, and I couldn't tell you what it was. It was like 8 or 9 years ago, but I got something wrong,
Right, Tabletop.
and I did a whole post on how I
Messed
did
up.
something wrong, and I messed up, and I fell on the sword, because I generally feel that that's the only way you're going to correct it, especially in a medium like this, because it is so. The internet never forgets. You can't hide your past. Bob, Glenn and Eric under the same roof. Life can get better, but not sure how. Bob, just scaring me. I really don't know what to make of that.
I was counting the holes in the roof. Sorry.
No, there's no, like, zero, Glenn, zero. But and as if you can't tell, again, we did an amazing amount of show prep for you folks today.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Really did.
and actually, what I should say is there was a lot of chat going on in our text group. The problem is, except for Rob, nobody was reading it.
Yeah.
No, people were reading it because they were response to people, but it was kind of disjointed at times.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Joe just posted in there, my many fans won't abandon me. Yeah, because of his clickbaity strategies. It's not like they're fans of solo RPG channels. He's ragging on Matt there.
And as we always listen, I had some pretty good rags on Matt and his solo gaming. And don't get me wrong, I think that solo gaming is a great way to learn a system. I want to do that with the Call of Cthulhu box set. There's some excellent adventures that you can grab from Chaosium that are free. Solo gaming certainly has its place. But it's like a lot of other.
Well, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I have to respond to Bob's comment. Yeah, I'm not sure what fucking up your taxes looks like, but I guess I embody that tonight.
You look a bit like an accountant. You know, you're like, hey, let me see. So what? Oh, wait a second. I got to retract that from the form I just entered in here. Oh, wait, I got Eric and Glenn's forms all mixed up. That's going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Since I don't make any money, it will be interesting.
Hey,
You know, I told you before, I got one podcast that has notes, and that's because Brian does them on Thaco's Hammer. First time he did, yeah, I put the notes up. Notes? What is this notes thing?
Well, I mean, listen, the random of the RPG podcast, vidcast, is like herding cats. We don't know who is going to show up, except for myself and Rob. Okay, Rob will be the one if I don't have the link. I got the link up hours early today. Rate was the one to go into me. Good, you made Rob's day. Because Rob's always the first one in, and he was the first one in tonight. So, except for me and Glenn, but I mean,
well, I was writing on my computer, and I
yeah,
have triple monitors, and the Discord is over here, and my Word is over here, and this is where all my reference stuff is. So,
Peter, Glenn, and Eric, the Bert and Ernie of the OSR. No, we're the two old men in the balcony in the Muppet Show.
Oh yeah, Statler Waldorf. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta get your Muppets right.
Well, Josh had made a post about in the chat about it. We should talk about how making players happy or something like that. And my reaction was, I don't really think that the DM's job is to try to make their players have fun or be, whatever.
not quite what he said.
I'll let Rob paraphrase for Josh since he's not here.
Rob
No,
Sheldon
he's talking about, have everybody having fun, and he's including the DM as well as the players. He was, I think, a couple days ago, when Joe said, "I feel a Dwayne story coming on," and we were talking about power gamers, basically. It's what we called them back in the day.
Yeah.
And I said, this is not a new problem that 5e players are special, that they like to go through the books and get their stuff. I mean, shit, I have GURPS players in the 90s, Dwayne being one of them, making extremely tweaked and broken character. And then Josh's comment was, well, that's not very fun for the DM, so that's kind of a excuse my language, a dick move on the part of the player to pull that, and because the DM needs to have fun as well. And those kind of characters, like Dwayne Blinken, Days Mage, or more recently in 5e, a guy made a multi-class warlock sorcerer that could see in magical darkness. So he always he used his sorcerer level to cast magical darkness on him and keep it up and pew everybody with Eldritch Blast. And
somebody like him, he's never played Champions, and it shows.
Oh yeah,
That's what I learned about power gamers.
And my reaction is more of sadness, because I know how to beat them. I just make the same kind of character.
Yeah.
But that's no fun. It's like one nuclear bomb dropping on another, and you have. I don't want to play nuke. I don't want to play Nuke the war game. I want to play my campaign.
Yeah, it's an arms race.
Yeah.
But that's also not fun for the rest of the players either. It's not just against the GM. You're taking power or usage or any kind of feeling of being needed from the rest of the party if one player is going to monopolize all the activity.
Well, that's not. No, actually, That's not actually how it works out in my experience. Usually the guy doing that, unless he's a total jerk, which these guys aren't, they're like the 5e guy had a friend who didn't quite make as broken, but he definitely was his partner in crime. But the rest of the party were needed. I mean, they were the mop-up crew. And if they didn't have the mop-up crew, then he knew very well that the dice could go badly for him. They were there in case the dice go badly, which it did. And as far as Dwayne, that particular mage, he went around and dazing everybody, but that's it. They're dazed. They will eventually recover. Somebody had to take it out, and that was Tim's character, I believe, and Josh's. Tim and Josh were in that campaign.
That's a support move.
Yeah.
But you know what? You don't. That becomes not much fun if that's every session, and every session you're always in the support position.
What would you do in real life if that happened, though? You're in a position where you're superfluous. You would just leave.
Yeah.
Or murder them, depending on how.
Yeah.
Well, you're not considering
Well,
real
if
real
you-
life isn't a set of punctuated encounters with nothing going on in between. What happens is you do the cleanup, you reap the rewards, and you party in between. So that's why the guys hang out with the power games. And I'm going to bring up LARP, but that's what happens in LARP. That's why the LARP guys do not. That's why these LARP groups with power gamers didn't split up, because the guys who are the support crew, they're getting a share of the loot. The smart guys, they make sure they're like the mob boss. Yeah, they got the Tommy guns, or they got the whatever the machine gun of the era was, but the other guys always get the share of the loot.
Yeah, but listen, I'm not playing RPGs for a share of the loot. I'm playing RPGs for a share of the excitement. Okay, that's I listen. We're all in Joe's campaign. If you're in it for the loot, you would have walked away by now. All right, it isn't a magic heavy campaign. We're in it because we all enjoy the fact that on any given day somebody's going to shine. Okay, and whether it's Greg and his endless charmed individuals, me getting some lucky spells off or not getting them off, depending on how my fucking rolls are, or somebody like being very good from a distance with their shot. Everybody has their piece of what they're doing. Tim scouting around, when we're learning new combinations of what we're going to do. It's all about not always hogging it up. I mean, I know at conventions, with this group, I don't have to worry too much because everybody's a skilled player. But at conventions, I've been known to, at the table, go, all right, these players aren't as strong. I think I know what the best course of action to do is, but if I don't, it's not going to kill us if somebody else puts something forward. Let somebody else get a chance to shine. It's not about me. So if we had one player, hypothetically, if we had one player who was taking control of the group, I think the rest of the group would not want to continue playing with that player. No matter how they are on a personal level, nobody always wants to be the support, the follower, the mop-up. In real life, you get paid well and you go home and you're paying your
Well, hold on.
not in game.
They may be the support role in combat, but there's a whole other side, at least in my campaigns. There's a whole other side where they're out of combat and the group, there's inner dynamics in the group. It doesn't, one thing doesn't always translate. It's new. What I'm saying, it's nuanced. Your situation does happen. I've seen it happen, but it's not as common as people would think in the situation. No, most of the power gamers
less common.
bring their friends.
Yeah, listen, most power gamers are playing with other power gamers. They attract a similar type of style. That's why when power gamers listen, if you got a pure power gamer in a group like ours, either we not physically kill them, but make sure that their character did not live, or we shun them like they had a scarlet letter on them, because that is not what we consider to be fun. And that's nothing personal against them, but
Yeah.
it's like expecting a group to conform to one person's style of play because it's what they like.
Right.
Whereas the style of play should be whatever the group as a whole fits its manner of play best.
Right. I play in the Shadow Dark game with Tim, right? And I think we, at least from my perspective, get along because I think we have the same definition of fun, right? So I think it helps when your play group both have the same definition of fun. A power gamer has a completely different idea of what's fun for them. So if you have a group of people who all are doing the same thing, I think you have to have a group that has the same definition of fun. But I also think what I see in the games that I'm playing too is that if you come with a spirit of generosity, and I think that's what players lack a lot of times, is why not let another, like if something's kind of lulled for me, I'm willing to say, look, I'll toss that off to so and so, and I'll ask a question, or I'll just tee somebody up and say, hey, I really don't know what we're doing right now, and rather than me rush in and do something, I'll ask in role play fashion, and ask another character another thing to see if maybe they have something, or to try to generate something. Yeah. And I think if players come to the table that way with that spirit of generosity, I think that's a good attitude to have a good game at least.
It is a good attitude, but powered gamers come in all stripes, and the better ones don't hog the spotlight. That's not what they do.
Yep.
They know just they want to stay. They want to play. They want to play. They want to be with a group of players. Particularly not in my game. Like, I'm special for running my game, because my games are not random groups of people that gather in at a convention or a game store. My groups, they know each other socially out of the group game. So, but on the other hand, I lay out the set of rules I'm going to use. And for that particular campaign, I was convinced, and I knew what I was getting into. I'd let them use all the options in 5e. Okay, I wanted to see for myself what it was, and what the power. I'll call him Arcanon. Okay, Arcanon and his other friend. They didn't overshadow the group socially. They were very effective in combat, but they worked with the group. And the fact that they were very effective in combat was to the group's benefit, not just their own.
That's right.
I think you experienced that in Champions, where somebody made a really kick-ass champion character, and it's the superhero genre seems to be more friendly about this. But yeah, you get somebody who has a kick-ass champion character, but he's definitely part of the team, just like Superman is part of the Justice League.
I've made superheroes before that are nothing but support, because it needed it. I felt that the group needed it. And min-maxers, like the other types of gamers, have a use, like even rules lawyers. Because min-maxers, like for instance, when I was playing, or I'm playing in a 5e game, and I turned to my grandson who knows 5e like the back of his hand, and he said, well, I want to play this type of character. Okay, you need to do this, boom, 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 boom. And he'll look at it and say, okay, cool, you're going to do a lot of damage. Well, that's not the point. The point is I wanted to make this type of character. And I don't want to overshadow everybody and make the most damage in any fight. I want to play the character.
Well,
but that's what he's good for. He's, min-maxers know how to,
But the thing is, the power gamers, in my experience, are also the ones that want to control the direction of the party.
You're absolutely
They want to take the leadership because, I do the most damage, or I do, and they want to be like our group. is a group where it literally is democracy on steroids. Forgive us for that. We don't have a default group leader. The one time we had one was the one time that we decided we were never going to have one again, because the reality is that it isn't so much the power gaming issue that's the issue. It's the personality that goes along with the power gamer, which is the desire to be the center of attention. If you could play a powerful character, as long as you're not the one that wants to be the reason that the whole game is existing, then people don't really pay attention to the fact of how powerful you are. But when you're all about it's me, then everybody starts going, yeah, it is you, and it doesn't work too well.
Well, I think Erica, we're kind of starting to argue definitions here. So, okay, let's accept your definition of a power gamer, and what I'm talking about, what Glenn's talking about, is a min-maxer. Okay.
Okay, that's
Same thing.
that's fine.
Power
Min-
gamer also min-max, but a min-maxer can be somebody there could be different personalities of different min-maxers. One of which is a power gamer.
I've known min-maxers that aren't disruptive, but the majority, not all, but the majority, greater than 50% of them, tend to also want to be the focus of the game, the campaign, be the one calling the shot, and that's fine in other groups. We are a group of conservative, liberal anarchists. I mean, honestly, I don't even know if we don't really take a vote. We discuss the party's actions, and then it's like, all right, yes, that sounds good. Yeah, we'll do that. As opposed to, this is what we're doing, and people going, huh?
Well, the latest thing was the result because it hit several people's goals at once.
Yeah, that was great. Yes,
I actually think that one of the things that this is like a guiding logic for our group is risk management. The discussions are not around whether something is morally right.
No, you're right.
Or whether it's a good idea or whatever. Like, it's all about what is the risk. We shouldn't go over there because this could happen. We should do this so that it prevents this other thing from happening. It's very risk oriented.
I don't think we've been put to the test in that regard.
Oh, I think Joe has put us up against stuff that if we were, I'm not saying we're a well-oiled machine, don't get me wrong. But if all these parts did not work as well together as we do, by all rights, this party should have been deceased.
No, I'm not saying our tactical competency. We've never been tested on a moral question.
Moral question, we're going to fail. We're going to fail it, Rob. I'm serious. If it's a moral question of do we kill the orc babies or not?
No, I think it's more like whether if you guys started burning down the forest, then maybe Tim and I might have a problem. I can't speak for Tim, but I would definitely have an issue with that.
Well, but don't give.
What's a forest? I mean,
let the fire.
And I think, but your character would have an issue with that because your god is nature, or you have the same domains as I do, though you're not a druid.
Yeah, well, my guy's a trickster. Hey, little fire! What happened? Come on.
In Shadowdark, it is definitely about risk management.
Oh,
whether or not you want to cast a spell or not, because if that spell fails and critically fails,
you could kill a innocent pack animal.
You are in. That's correct. That is 100% correct. Or you can kill yourself. You blow yourself up. So yeah, totally. The thing there is if it's about managing risk in those cases for sure.
I never manage risk. I always role play the way I think how my character would ought to act in that situation.
Oh, you're
that's why Argyle died.
That's why we rag you about being
there was a good
paladin.
chance I'd get hurt. I just didn't know I was going to make an instant death save.
Rob
that
Rob
part-
always plays a paladin.
So
That's
Rob
that's
is one of those guys who's saying, "But it's what my character would do."
yeah. He'll be a paladin disguised as a druid, but he's still a paladin.
He's still got the same morals. I mean,
Yeah,
listen, my character could argue, well, listen, the best thing that can happen to a forest is for it to get burned out, right? That's how forests get reborn all the time. That's what
Control
keeps them.
burns.
That's what keeps them vibrant. So I mean, listen, you can argue all points on that one, but I think that that's not the moral. That's not even a moral issue. That has that because a moral issue is something that all the characters would agree theoretically it's something maybe we should do, but then they go, but the risk. Nah, I think we stick to the track and we just ignore the obvious story hook that's pulling upon our moral code. I think
well, Argyle's whole stick with glory. You see, I don't know. I mean, you may call it a paladin, but if you would have made an assumption, tried to act on that assumption, you would have been sorely mistaken with Argyle. He had a code, but it was glory. He was a Highlander, a Scottish Highlander who wanted his name to live on. Okay, some of that is intersects with being a paladin, because you don't want to be looked on as a coward or dishonorable. So yeah, that's paladin like, but you just didn't see a situation where the difference would have. I would have pulped somebody's head, and I would have taken somebody's head and pulped it if it was the right situation. I would not have a qualm with that at Argyle.
I find it interesting. That's where you draw the line, is for the paladin.
What?
What I mean is that you're rigorously honorable about all kinds of things, and you don't you play the character. Again, like, this isn't necessarily even really criticism. It's just observation. If I play a character, I'm almost always a sneaky, nefarious
right.
thief type. Like, that's just how I am. So I think it's just you have a particular way of, well, I wouldn't do that. And then that's how you play the character. That's just
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but the thing is, though, there's always a reason, and the reasons are not always the same from character to character.
Right.
But listen, I generally play characters that are, I don't know, their goals are more personal, and they aren't. None of them want to be involved in bigger plays in the outside world. I'd rather just, hey, get my God's name out there by doing quasi heroic stuff, but nothing too scary. And I'm not looking to change the world. That's for heroes. I don't play a hero. I always figure I'm playing somebody a little bit above average, doing what he can. But we had a saying: heroes are one of two things. They're either sandwiches, we call them heroes in New York, or they're dead. Nobody talks about a living hero. Everybody talks about the dead ones. So, by the way, Fugly, so Rob is a role power gamer.
I admit, I min-max the shit out of when I have the opportunity.
Oh yeah, Rob, if you think we haven't noticed that, no, we know.
I'm not saying you've noticed it. That's the whole reason I took the Druid.
The first time I heard about a min-maxer was Champions 2 in 3rd edition, where they had a whole article about being economical with your character. Remember that?
Well,
Oh,
you would.
Well, I'm not at home. I can't grab my copy.
Well, I have the exact book where that article.
I can't remember the guy's
Champions
name.
2.
There
Yeah,
you go.
yeah.
Yeah, it had all these little notes in there about how you can min-max.
Can't remember the guy's name. It was something way of character creation.
Oh yeah, Goodman says.
Oh yeah, the Goodman School of the Goodman School.
And I thought that was so cool.
I thought it was too. I used it a lot. I used it a lot in the game.
I think mid-maxing just takes a lot of work. Maybe I'm just too lazy to mid-max anything. I'm just like, I'll just keep these rolls. That's fine. We're gonna roll with that. I'm too lazy to mid-max anything. I'm just like, and for me to spend the time to do it to maximize everything, that's a lot of brain work for me.
So, like Tom from Tip Top Tap Room says, these days I kind of like a priest or cleric. I almost always play a priest or cleric if I'm playing a fantasy game, and the reason being is not a min-max thing. The reason being is, unlike how I thought about it when I was playing in my 20s, clerics are just useless because all they do is heal. I found that even a straight cleric is a very powerful character and can wade into combat, especially if you're playing in a group that doesn't have super heroic statistics, and be quite competent. Not going to be a frontline fighter, but I can definitely save somebody's ass. I'm not looking to play a character that's going to need to be the center, but I am going to be the one that is in the center, keeping everything together.
Isn't the cleric, though, the original support member?
It is, but it's also it's not just a support member. It's a utility. It's the utility player.
Oh, sure, right. But when I would ask people, like when you'd have, like when I was younger, they'd say, we're going to play. Do you want to play? I said, yeah. And they said, well, we need a cleric, know. So you would say, okay, I'm going to play the cleric because that's what they needed. So because they needed that support member. We don't have anybody to heal us. We don't have anybody to do the things to do. So
turn on dead, all that kind of
right. But usually when I play a cleric, my cleric is one that gets into combat. My cleric is one that's going to be swinging. If you didn't know better,
clerics are not a bad fighter in class.
Right. If you didn't know better, you would think that my cleric was a fighter who just happens to cast spells. What the hell is that? Certainly not a paladin, I'll tell you that much. But because I personally see, like, when in my 20s, my preferred character class was a bard. Again, I know, considered worthless by many, but with the Bard complete book of 2nd edition, there was a lot of flexibility with the Bard class. But I like the ability to get into combat, cast spells, wear some armor. I saw it as utility infielder. I was a huge baseball fan when the Yankees were good in the 80s, and they were good because not just of their stars, they had utility players that could come in and fill in for an all-star and give a good show. And that, to me, is funny. Few people. We have a party with 2 priests in it. That's unheard of.
3.
Friday. 3. Sorry, Rob. I forgot you came back at that druid. So you got 3 priests in our party. How the hell does that happen in any OSR game? Because people don't want to be a priest. I went through that damn Demi-Human Gods book, and I was like, all right, hey, look, I can be a gnomish priest with some illusionist spells and some thief abilities. I'm not going to excel at any of this stuff. But, man, I am going to fill some holes. I am going to be that little kid at the Dutch dike, putting my fingers and my toes and my penis wherever it needs to get poked into, just to make sure. That's all. That's not the. I guess as a gnome, my nose. I guess I should
demonetized. Just like
I was gonna say I don't know where this is being played at, but I don't know if I want in on that.
It's wait a second. Is this the game I'm in? No. Well, hold on a second. Yeah.
So it's a bunch of old school gamer. I'm going to put this forth. This question. We're talking AD&D, 1st edition. Around Unearthicana. If you were to hold a Fight Club tournament where all the characters are around 7th to 8th level and has a magic item budget, you can make any character you want from the books. Okay. Who would win that? Who would win that Fight Club?
Well, now, what is the statistical array? What are the stats?
They have the same. They have similar stats.
No. See. The barbarian
very big class.
Yeah, in class with high stats gets the dexterity bonus and double constitution bonuses. Right. So that statistical array is very important because barbarians are not overpowered unless you have good stats. If you have good stats, they are damn near unkillable, and they're a fucking
I think
asshole.
I think in the tournament that I was in, you had 118 or something like that.
Just 118 and no other bonuses, then the barbarian's worthless. I hate to put it to you that way, but doesn't hold up. And Cavaliers are overpowered because their powers are bought off by social role playing detriments that nobody in their teens or 20s bothered to play with. So by the way, don't ever if you're ever designing a character class, don't give social role play issues as a balance to mechanical issues of power.
Majestic Waterlands.
It all the time, though.
Rob, we forgive you because
With the
you're
kids.
because you're you. But what I'm saying is that if you are a power gamer, the first thing that you do is you kind of ignore these social aspects of the role play that's supposed to hold. What? Oh, did I read that? I didn't remember reading that part. No, I gotta do. Well, maybe I don't want to play this character because that's what always got forgotten about Cavaliers and the Paladins, especially with Unearthed Arcana. That shit kind of went to the side because otherwise the character was relatively unplayable. That was the whole point. It was to make them. Do you really want to have to role play this? Well, no, I won't. I'm just gonna play it. I'll play the character without taking the detriments. Thank you very much. And
well, I do have an answer because when I was a sophomore in college around 1986, I've heard of this role-playing convention near my college in Western PA. I went to Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and so I went there, and one of the things they had was an AD&D fight club. And I looked over the rules, and I turned to the organizer. You do know that anybody who plays a druid is just going to take this tournament. And they scoffed at me. So I did. I made my druid, had a modest magic item budget. They were using Unearthed Arcana. They had a nice array, but it wasn't like all 18s and everything.
Right.
And I won it handily. And I have proof. I won
Okay.
this.
So this entire conversation
All this is
was
a setup
for
for
Rob
Rob's-
to brag about his special.
Yeah,
druid
you got it. You got to take your moments where you can get them.
All right, but Rob, now you set that whole shit up. Tell
Well,
us.
the secret is the shape shifting in the free healing that it gives you.
Okay,
Yeah,
And
you get up to 60% of your hit points back when you shapeshift.
but you don't get you get 60% of the damage you've taken back.
Well, yeah, 60% of the damage, which as a druid, you're going to take some hit when you're in
Right,
certain
but it
situations.
also it isn't a free action that takes a round. Of shapeshifting takes a round. It's a round that you're not hitting, you're getting hit. If they put, I mean, I don't know if they were ruling it was a free action, but AD&D 1A did not have free actions. Everything that would take a round to transfer. So yeah,
I get that, but you, instead of taking a round of coughing of healing potion, although I had healing potion, or cast a spell on yourself, you shapeshifted. And if you do it right, you can get a better movement and get away from the guy so you can heal, while your opponent can't heal as fast as you can, even if they're a cleric.
right. But also it heals what 10 to 60% of your damage.
20 to 60%. Yeah.
If you get low rolls, it isn't going to be pleasant anyway. I think the druids are very powerful characters, by the way, in 1A. All right, I had a high level. Nobody wanted to take the druid in a tournament adventure over at Columbia University. Nobody wanted the druid. I'm like, what level druid is it? 14? Give me the druid.
Holy shit.
Oh yeah, and it was this killer fucking dungeon, and we went into the third room, and we had to get down I don't know how many levels, and I'm like, yeah, listen, I cast rock to mud. You have what? Yeah, I got to cast a rock to
And
mud.
had a good area.
It had a great area, but I sent the rock to mud straight down enough that we could rappel down to the main bad guy. After going 2 rooms, didn't have to deal with anything else. We were full hit points, full spells. Took him out in a handful of rounds, and the DM turned to my friend Andrew and said, "Hey, you want to come back and play at Columbia University?" And he was like, "Huh? Not your friend. Not your friend. He's not. He can't come back. Do you want to
I
play?" here?"
never play with a GM like that. Ever.
But druids are extremely powerful once they start hitting them. People don't really. Rob saw
The
it.
mid-level, when they get to mid-level, when before
Yeah.
that they're kind of on par or a little subpar.
They're a little subpar to a cleric, because your heals lag. Even with like Goodberry, it was like, But I played druids, and again, I am happy to play whatever you give me at a convention because I will make it work. When I was at Gen Con, I got handed the character that nobody wanted, which was the Fallen Paladin. So I was a fighter with a 17 charisma. What a fucking waste of a score. And that was my highest score. So that tells you the rest of my stuff wasn't all that great for combat. But I played the shit out of that character because, you know what? I fell as a paladin for a reason, and I'm gonna make that reason count. So it was good. It was good enough to get me to the second round of the tournament. So
Yeah, what I there was some incident prior to that made me realize it, the druid. But the thing about by the time you're mid-level with the druid, you're kind of like second best, but at everything.
right,
You're not the best fighter, but you're a cleric. So you fight on the cleric table. You definitely don't have good armor. So, but you're like second best in everything, and that's what over the long haul, if you play it smart, that's why it's the best, and that's why I won the fight. I never curb stomp unless somebody failed their saving throw against Entangled, and that was a bad day for them. But I couldn't rely on that. I mean,
right. No,
that was just icing on the cake if that happened. But certainly, Entangled would slow them down and allow them to channel where I want them on the battlefield.
Yep.
it's doing the most with the hand that is dealt to you. I mean, sometimes I do think that the best way to roll D&D characters or even OSR characters is in order, not 3d6. Make it 40. Make it even 5d6 if it's in order. But take the scores that you're given, and play what's given you. Yes.
Well, I did 46,
That stinks.
re-roll 1, 7 times, discard the lowest, and rearrange accordingly.
That works too.
And believe it or not, nobody rolled any more than 118, but still, it
Right.
made it allowed everybody felt they had a chance to play any of the classes they wanted to play. All those like a paladin, you needed a 17 or 18 charisma, and that's why I did that. I was being nice, and I didn't want to do point buy. So,
Well, you could just use the method 9 in the Unearthed Arcana, where paladins roll 9d6 for their charisma and get a 17 if they can't roll an 18. I mean, come on.
yeah,
Why-
I think I
why
came up
even
with this
roll the
method
dice?
before Unearthed Arcana, so I just stuck with my method.
Well, if you played an RPGA like I used to, you got points.
Yeah. So, Greg, are you going to say why roll the dice?
Yeah, why even roll the dice if you're gonna jury rig it so much? Just say, this is what I have.
Yeah.
Because Greg, it was a sweet spot between randomness and having choices as a player.
Yeah, it sounds.
And
real
I
cool.
tweaked it. Over the years, and that's what I finally arrived at. Now I wouldn't do the reroll ones anymore, but if I was doing an AD&D game, I would do 46 7 times, discard the lowest score.
I mean, again, with our Unearthed Arcana, when they came out with the by-class dice rolls, and fighters get 9d6 for their strength, paladins get 96 for and you always got the minimum. If you didn't get the minimum for your class, See, now remember when I always felt the joy, one of the joys of creating a character was to roll those dice and then say, all right, what can I be? Do I have enough good scores to be an effective combatant, or should I be looking to be a spellcaster?
Yeah, but I
You
get
know,
you every once in a while. They said, "I want to play," and you get a good idea for a character.
and
Mhm.
I've had that, and I don't have the scores. It's like, well, I guess it ain't going to work. But do I really want to have 96 in my primary stat?
Yeah, I agreed. I don't like that. That's horseshit. Even though that's what I did for AD&D, because ADD had those ridiculous. I only did that because they had the ridiculous stack requirements for the classes.
Right.
For my Majestic Fantasy role, it's just 3d6 arranged accordingly. And if a player is not happy, roll again. I mean, I had players roll 3 or 4 times until they got what they want, and fine. I don't care if you re-roll 4 times to get the character you want. Most players, though, they just play unless they roll like a 3, a 5, and a 6 for 3 out of their 6 stats. They'll scrap that. But most
Right.
players will live with a 7 or a 4, a really low stat.
Well, my thing with like Swords and Wizardry and other OSR games is always been add up your pluses, add up your minuses. If you're not at least +1 after all that overall, your character is not going to be an adventurer. You got to be above average to be an adventurer.
Yeah, I'm fine with a bare minimum like that. I just don't understand like the constantly
Yeah, no, I
re-rolling.
don't.
I mean, it's like if you're playing a video game and you have a 80% chance to hit, and you reload it 3 times, and it finally you finally get it, and then you save, and then you move forward. It's called save scrumming. Like so that you're always hitting, you're always doing something. Like at certain points, like what are you doing? You're not playing the game.
Well, that
Yeah.
is a bit of min maxing. A bit of
Well, your save scrumming, like I did a second run through for Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm playing a magic user, and I have a magic user and a cleric in this party, and we have to take one of the early dungeons out. I don't want to restart that whole crash into Illithid ship sequence again. Fuck that shit. So I saved scrums the shit out of that one dungeon until I was able to figure out a way to make it through. Now I know I could do it again with those characters if I had to start from scratch with those characters. I know how to do the right tactics, but that's why I did it. That's why I did it in that particular instance, Greg.
I just at a certain point, it's like, would you brag to your kid about the time that you reloaded the game 15 times in order to get the save to pass? Like, I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Like, who's impressed? What are you doing?
I wouldn't brag.
Yeah.
I wouldn't brag about what I do in computer
When
games.
Faye's a
to anybody.
traveler player.
Well,
No, it's
Well,
the same. Like, have some pride in your
If I'm competing
ability in
against another
yourself.
player,
Yeah.
maybe then, but not
Yeah. In
not
Shadow
in a
Dark,
solo game.
when my character died, I mean, we rolled it live. I mean, and that's the first time I'd ever probably done that as far as like, oh, I'm going to roll up my character publicly. Like, even when I create a character, with my friends or, when I was growing up, everybody kind of made their character and, you could maybe, rearrange some things, but no, we rolled them straight through, and whatever you got is what you got. And you're determined to play whatever I mean, I figured out, so, all right, well, we rolled it and said, okay, well, it looks like I'm going to be a fighter because that was my strongest stat there. So I guess I want to be a fighter in the next iteration of what I'm going to become. So, but that's not, I want to say stressful, but it's like, well, you're like, wow, whatever you're stuck with, you're just gonna, it's what it's gonna be.
it is what it is.
Mhm.
By the way, John D says retired. I'm assuming that's a new status for you. So, from one retired individual to another, congratulations. What can I say, man? Retirement is
The thing.
well, retirement is parole if you were a cop. So it is. It's when you get to really enjoy your life.
Eric, does there need to be a fight? Does there need to be a fight club at North Texas? Does there
Oh,
need to be?
oh my God!
Yeah,
Well,
it's called Gladiator
well, yeah, there is Gladiator. Well, no, it's not. No, it's the chariot races.
and Chariot.
Yeah, they got the chariot races, but
Well,
that-
I don't know. The Fight Club I thought would be the total antithesis of what all of us, most people I know, like in the OSR, because they had a packet This is in the 80s, photocopied packet, this thick, because they really tried to make this work balance-wise. You had a gold piece budget. They had a list of all the magic items you could buy. They explain how you do each class, and
Wow. Do you still have that document?
no,
No.
Rob, you got everything.
You got all that. You do.
I lost shit. I got to say, look, I will go back here. This is one of the. I do those Harn style maps, like of the Waterlands, right? And I have that hand drawn one of the Greyhawk, part of Greyhawk. I didn't do the complete. Well, I did one of Blackmore, but this is all I got left. I even have proper labels on this one. That was the big improvement on this map. This was a full color Black Marsh that I drew in 1991. And I lost the original. I don't know where it is. It irks me.
Yeah, that Fight Club document though would have been fascinating to look at how they put that together though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I watched the other fight, and they, even though I was I criticized about the Druid, overall there were some interesting fights in that Fight Club. Especially because how the characters were paired up.
Well, so I think this actually cuts at like a fundamental difference of philosophy, because by setting it up as a fight club, I mean, like, I'm not saying that it's not necessarily an interesting side thing to do from the way a game is intended to be played. Let's just put it that way. But if you have a game where your goal is for every class to be equally capable in a fight, random roll, like you're basically challenging the game designer. Did they make one class better than the other because we're going to put them all in a fight?
You're talking story, right?
Yeah, that kind of gets at the OSR versus modern gaming dichotomy, because I don't care if the druid is more powerful at level 7 than the fighter is at level 7. It doesn't it's irrelevant to me unless it's so massive difference that it's like, what's even happening here? These aren't comparable.
Well, you have to understand that back then we played a lot of war games, so we noticed this stuff.
Yeah.
That's why games like Champions were also popular. I mean, nothing was as popular as D&D, but Champions was popular because those of us who were gamers instantly got what they were going for.
Well, I think to make something like that work today, somebody like Rob would have to go through and figure the class balance out and figure out that a 7th level druid equals an 8th level fighter or a 7th level ranger or a 10th level thief, and actually have a balanced, not just by level, because level is faux balancing anyway. Find out what the true balance is. Where does everybody else compare to a 7th level druid on the power chart?
Right.
How do we match that power? What level of other classes matches that power level? Not just go, everybody gets a 7th level character, because that should be a random draw then. Because who wants to be the 7th level assassin? The 7th level thief in a one-on-one combat.
I don't know. I made memories a little hazy, but the sense I got, it wasn't looking for balance. They were looking to be fair in that, but what you made is what you made, and you live with your choices. Because there were a lot of choices. It was pretty much standard AD&D, but it was choices. I mean, you could buy, and of course, most of in AD&D 1E, without feats and all the other class options they have today, most of your choices are in what magic items you bought. So that's where the bulk of their document were fixated on what magic items you were allowed to buy, and then that's how. And everybody, including my character, I mean, I had magic items, and I was very careful about the ones I picked. Like, I'm pretty sure I plowed into a magic scimitar as one of the healing potion with another, and something else. Bracers of defense, to get that armor class up. still wasn't as good as the guys who bought +1 plate. But still, they put a lot of work into magic items, and so it's more like, let's see what you can do. Bring your A game to this.
I don't know.
Well, I like I said, I get that as like a side element of how you're supposed to play the game, but like the point to me of the role playing game thing is it's just like in real life, if you put together a group of 6 people, you don't expect them to be perfectly balanced and everybody be equally good at something. Like some people are going to be better at other things, some people are going to be worse at other things. Some people are going to be worse in every category from every other person in the group. That doesn't mean they can't be relatively useful. Like I can't do everything all at once, so it's okay that this guy is a little bit worse than me at doing it, but I'll have him do it. Like, and I bring it up like not that each game should perfectly correspond to real world, but that's kind of like how it's okay to be differential in value. It doesn't carry a moral value. Like this guy has to be the same as your guy, or I'm screwed or something. Like nobody on this podcast right now is equal to each other. We're all different in different ways, and that's fine. Like there's no problem with that.
Got no argument from me, Greg. You played my rules. My rules embody that philosophy. That
Yeah.
everything. I mean, if you're going by mechanics alone, with my Majestic Fantasy RPG, there are clear choices. Play an elf, play an elven paladin. You want all the Benny, your mechanical Benny, my game has to offer. That's one of the combinations that'll get you, or elven Thothian mage. But all the classes have a reason. All the races and classes have a reason to being what they are in my game world. And hopefully it made sense to you, Greg, when you were playing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, just like if we were putting together a posse to go out and get some outlaws in the Old West, I wouldn't expect every single one of us to be a expert marksman, Navy SEAL equivalent with all kinds of stuff. Like, it's okay for people to not be the most perfect version of their combat self. Everybody has other things. That's why I'm like, when people obsess about it, you end up getting stuff like, Pathfinder, 4th edition type stuff where it's so mathematical and mechanical and everywhere. Like, I just don't like it anymore. Like, why are we balancing things out to that degree so that there's no? It doesn't feel like anybody's different, even.
Because it's 3-5. That's why.
Yeah.
It becomes soulless. I mean, that's you take out
All
the individuality. Now, Foodly had an interesting question: should we be using levels for balance or XP for balance? And honestly, I think that in theory, right? Gary always said that the different XP tables were to balance. So it could be that your 9th level thief was balanced against what, a 6th level fighter, 7th level fighter, maybe, because these went up so much quicker.
I'm sorry to interrupt. There was a discussion recently about the 2024 changes, where they were looking at how all the movement rates were now identical across. Like everybody was 30-foot move or something like that. I don't remember the exact number. Yeah, but it was like dwarves are, halflings, gnomes were no longer slower in any way. Nobody was faster in any way. Now that's okay if you're dealing with one stat, one thing. But what happens is it starts to become multiple objects in the game design until eventually you don't have variation anymore because everything's been standardized.
So you guys remember Jeff Rentz, the guy who likes the Gonzo? Yeah. So he came out with an adventure called Tal of Exalia. I can't pronounce it. Starts with an X. Exalia. And in it, what he did to have people make characters, they wrote on a chart that gave them a set in XP, and then they pick a class, and that's the XP they have for the class. And I liked it so much that I asked him if I could borrow it, and I made So when I have when I don't use pre-gens at conventions, I have players roll up the XP, and I like the chart because you don't get everybody will get the same amount of XP.
Isn't there charts like that in Arduin?
I'd have to double check.
think so.
Arduin has so many effing charts. I couldn't tell you.
So you can start out. I have players start out at second level and all the way up to sixth level, and I like if I had to go, I would go with something. I would go with an XP budget.
Works for me.
Yeah. So Tom from Tabletop Tap Room, everything becomes bland shit that way. Well, that's it's the small things in gaming that makes things special. If one of the reasons why 4E didn't succeed, and there are many reasons why 4E didn't succeed, by the way, was the whole idea that, well, every class gets +1 per level on whatever they're doing, which I remember reading that and going, "What the? Why
Well,
is
I think you can have. Sorry.
No, so it took away. They were so stuck on balance and pure balance that I think that for many people, not all, but for many people, 4E was a soulless RPG. Everybody gets their automatic action to do damage. Come on, this is like an MMO, right? You need all this stuff, and nobody wants this stuff.
This is what
See, I think that I agree with you, Eric. And one of the things, there was something more that made it solid. That the balance, they put all their attention on balancing combat, and little attention and stuff outside of spellcasting and combat. And that's Lord of the Rings back here, and then his predecessor, Adventures in Middle Earth. They have options. They embrace the 5e ethos of options. But when you look at the list, there are just as many what we would call role-playing options, stuff that doesn't really impact combat, but it more affects stuff you can do outside. Like if you're a dwarf, you can take a feat and you'll give you ravens that you can use for scouting, to bring you news. And it's a really cool little option for dwarves to have, dwarves of Erebor to have. And all the other cultures in Lord of the Rings get their own. And some of them are useful for combat, but some of them, if you don't role play, you're not going to get anything out of them.
Isn't balance just another word of trying to say fairness? Is that word where, it's not fair. It's not fair to the party, or it's not fair to somebody that they're at this level or that level, or they don't get the same ability, and has, fairness kind of superseded and made everything homogenous, just the way they do in 5e. We're all everybody's kind of the same, being across the board, that kind of thing. Have we, why is there I guess the question is, why is there such an adjustment for fairness? Why is everything fair?
Because people can't stand to say that one individual is better than another individual, and they want to reduce all the differences between groups to things that are either non-important, like food and clothing, or aesthetic, so to speak, or they have them mathematically balanced out so that it's this race gets +2 dex and this race gets +2 strength, and so it's fair, right? They don't want elves to just be better, right? Like that.
The comparison is, as Bowie said.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's not what they're trying there. They're not trying for fair. When you're balancing to that level, you're not trying for fairness. There's no good word for it, but justice comes to the closest. Fairness, in my book, is being consistent. You can have, life isn't fair. I mean, in that way, but life is consistent. In that if you jump off a cliff, you're going to get hurt 99 times out of 100. And so, I mean,
yeah, but Rob, my point is that they They don't like the idea that there's one person on the team who's better than the other people on the team. That's the thing. They don't want one person on the team to be better than anyone else on the team. Just categorically better.
I'd say it's more complex than that, Greg. I mean, that's an aspect of it, but I seen, I see in every system I ever dealt with, there's, especially like early editions of Champion, there's a couple options there that makes you go, whoa, I don't know about that. That seems kind of whacked, like elemental powers, what did they do? Did it give you half cost just because you come up with a theme for all your power and there's no consequence to it? Or everybody said everything's fire related, half off. It's like, so I guess it's the answer is nuanced, but taking the other extreme, you get 4E. So that's what it looks like when you go too far in that direction.
I didn't mind. Look, if you can, in first edition rules, right? There's you couldn't go past a certain level if you were a certain race, right? You just
Right.
that's the way it goes.
Then it goes back to basic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what that means is that their hit points can't go up and their powers stop improving. And
Right.
people don't like I think people don't even just like the aesthetic of saying this person can't advance.
Well, I didn't like it, but not because I thought it was unfair. I didn't like it because it didn't make any sense. It was obviously it was too gamey for me. It was obvious there you can multi-class as a demi-human. We got to limit you somehow. There's a balance that out.
Rob, now you're going balance because you didn't agree with the balance. The whole thing.
Whoa. No, what I think that was Gygax's way of trying to balance.
Well, it definitely was. He said it. He said it because he didn't want. If he didn't do that, then nobody would play a human. There were the only advantages that humans had. They didn't have infravision. They had the potential for 1800 strength, and which was not going to happen if you were playing it straight up.
Dwarves too.
No, dwarves were 1899.
Really?
Yes, and don't be a female because he hated females when it came to strength cats. But in any case, he said flat out, if you didn't put level caps on demi-humans, nobody would play a human, and it's supposed to be a human-centric setting, especially Greyhawk was very human-centric, and the players are only going to play demi-human because, Rob, everybody to some extent is a little bit of a power gamer. Nobody wants to go, whoa, I get a free chance to be more powerful just by being a demi-human. I'm going to pass that up. Why be a human? I'll be blinded in the dark and I can do just what everybody else does. Nothing different.
Yep.
So Eric, I found a fixed way to do that without level caps.
Okay.
Rob has solved all problems, Eric.
I solved that problem at least, Greg, and that's quite simply. I simply bribe my players to play humans by giving them plus 25% XP.
Wow.
Well, listen, hey, that is
so
you're doing the exact same thing on the reverse end of the
no, but I'm not capping players. I'm giving if you're going to do something like that, Greg.
Rob, of all the people that I know, mathematically, you are best positioned to understand how that is the exact same thing. Come on, rather than capping it on the top, you're giving them an advantage on the bottom. It's the same thing.
Okay,
you're like super math, dude. What are you talking about?
If you will let me explain, I would let you talk about it. Okay, people reacted negatively to level caps because they are a prohibition. They are banned. Thou shall not do that. Where my giving humans an XP bonus is an XP bonus. It's a bonus, even though it works out the same thing. Encourage human PCs. Humans get ahead of the demi-human characters. Greg, people don't complain about it.
All right.
Yeah,
So
and people don't complain when we call the Social Security tax half paid by them, half paid by their employer,
Yeah,
even
that's
though we
politics
all
and
know that it's all
ungated.
paid by the employee.
Well,
That's
I'm not
you're
equating
just
what I'm.
hiding. You're just
Well,
hiding the math.
listen, this is it's not even the math question. It's literally comes down to almost like semantics. It's like saying, "I wasn't fired. I was downsized."
Yeah.
You know,
Whoa. Okay, so
most
the other
cases you lost
thing.
your job. All right, but in this case, Rob's saying there's no level caps, but demi-humans are going to be stunted by 25%. Which, I mean, that's fine, Rob. But you didn't fix it. You just changed it. It's not
Sorry,
a
it's plus
whole thing.
15%.
The
But
the
Eric, see, this is what I did. I didn't just arrive this solution arbitrarily. I play tested. I watched players' reaction. I was running multiple game store campaigns at the time at a convention, and I watched the reaction between one doing level cap versus doing it this way. And guess what? Worked. It
Rob,
worked.
just because
And I'm
people
sorry.
like
I'm sorry,
losing
Glenn. It's
money
not
better
plus
than
25%.
gaining money or
It's plus
something.
15%.
Yeah. They do those psychological experiments where people have loss aversion and they'd rather not lose $100 than gain $100, but it's the same math. So like your only point is that this is fine. We're just going to trick them into not realizing that they're
semantics.
doing it. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're basically deceiving them with the way that it's
No,
like
it's a
makes
Rob's
them
note.
feel like
I
it's
put it in as a Rob's note. I tell them exactly what I'm doing and why, and everybody goes, "Oh, okay."
Well, again, to me, it's semantics. I would rather be saying, all right, well, if you're human, you can put +1 to 2 of your stats because humans are superior.
Yeah.
But
That's
That
why
doesn't-
humans
that
get like
doesn't
an
work,
extra
Eric. You
feet or
still wind
something.
up,
Yeah.
you still get a party of demi-humans that way. I tried it. I tried that. What works is giving him plus 15 percent experience. Plus 5% didn't do it. Plus 10% didn't do it. Giving him attribute bonus didn't do it. But plus, when I did
Have
plus
you
15
run this experiment
plus your
multiple
prerequisite
lifetimes?
to give plus 20%, all of a sudden the adventuring, when players chose to make character, majority of the people played human. There were still elves, there were still dwarves, there were still halflings. There were still those players say, no matter what, I'm playing a dwarf. That's what I'm playing. I'm playing a gnome. I'm playing an elf.
But Rob, there were players that were saying that with level caps. Listen,
Bingo.
listen. I am in Joe's campaign. I am a demi-human, right? I am a gnome. I get a 15% XP penalty. He didn't give you humans a bonus. He gave us a penalty. And you know what? I roll with it. I'm saying I wouldn't multi-class under penalties like that, but I didn't. But I'm rolling with it. It is what it
Okay,
is.
but here you're forgetting the other part of the equation. Me, I think level caps are bullshit.
Okay,
Well,
Rob,
Okay, I don't
problem
like them. I do
solved,
not like them
people.
aesthetic. I do not like them on a train. I do not like them on a plane. I will not play with level cap. Run a campaign with level caps. Okay, it may be partially irrational, and in the math that I did to fix my issue with not having human dominated parties may to you guys seem, well, what's Rob talking about? That is my aesthetic choice. And here's the thing, I don't hide it. I don't say it's a superior way. I just put in, when I write about it in my rule book, I just say, this is what I do. This is why I do it. And people, most reaction, not everybody, goes, huh, I can see your point. And that's what I'm going for.
Fair enough.
Well, if you incentivize it, I mean, people are going to be drawn to, if that's, people that want to, and I think that's probably why in 5e that humans are probably the most widely played race, is because it's incentivized that way.
Yeah, they give sufficient bonus for humans.
Right.
With
but if you look at, but too, if we watched, if Frodo could do what Legolas does, I don't know if we like that movie. That's
another reason I did it this way. I did not want to give humans any special benefits in what they could do in game, other than they would have increased experience. So, in terms of capabilities, halflings in my Majestic Fantasy rule still have all the advantage you expect that halflings would have, and elves. Well, I didn't go the D&D elves route. I went the token elves route. So, elves in my game are really good. Like they're immune to disease, and plus they have the attribute bonus that you would expect an elf have. So all the races still have their distinctive physical attributes that people associated with that. But for the players who are on the fence about this stuff, that plus 15% XP is what tips the balance. And it's still, and there's still demi-humans in the party. I mean, it's just people are I have found that at least half the player want to role play what they want to role play. No matter what the system says, they'll play a human, or they'll play an elf, they'll play a dwarf. That's how they like the role. But
you probably. Oh, so go ahead, Rob.
no, I'm done.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking back to like Rule Cyclopedia, that one appendix in the back saying, okay, you can take the level caps off demi-humans, but you got to take something away. And I looked like that's bullshit. I feel like that's rubbing salt in the wounds. You take the level caps away, but all of a sudden the dwarf can't judge angles or something
but it's
intrinsic.
But it's the game, but and you wouldn't be taking away that. You'd be taking away their
infravision?
No, their poison bonuses and stuff like that on saving throws. That's because it's a game balance issue.
Game balance, you can go to 36 levels in the game, and you're restricting them to like maybe 12.
Well,
I think halflings are 8.
Well, I've never seen a legitimate campaign get beyond 10th level. We got to 20th when I was a teenager, but we were leveling one level per adventure.
Right.
Oh, well, if I can, Roger asked me a question. Do I cap all players at level 20? And well, in my Majestic Fantasy RPG, I don't have a cap, but I design my campaigns where, you're an apprentice at first level, you're a professional at 3rd, you're like a leader in your profession at 6th, and you're like a very important leader when you're at 9th, and you're Nobel Prize caliber at 12th. And but by the time you get to 12th, I mean, you're in rarefied air here. And most players stop. My campaigns usually stop. They've done what they want to do by the time they're between 10th and 12th level.
Yeah.
But in theory, there are some 16th level individual, and that's about it. Those are like once in a century Einsteins, but they do exist. It's just players don't really want to play that long to get to that level.
Well, I mean, something that we're not even mentioning here is, I believe, part of the other reason too is that name level in AD&D was essentially where many of these campaigns were going to end. Your characters were supposed to semi-retire. So the soft human cap was around level anywhere from 8 to 10, depending on your character class. You got your monastery, you got your castle, you got your thieves guild, and you were no longer adventuring. Now, I believe with Unearthed Arcana, they increased the level caps, and if you had high scores in your primary stat, they increased it again. And I'm not sure if it was in Unearthed Arcana or a Sage Advice, but single class characters could advance 2 levels beyond the cap that was indicated. So they were already like,
I don't remember that about Unearthed Arcana. I have to look that up sometime.
What
I remember the increase in level caps because of stats, but I didn't remember if you were a single class, you could
single class. It was either Unearthed Arcana or a Sage Advice after Unearthed Arcana came out. So now also to put things in perspective, when we're talking, what one class could you go unlimited as a demi-human?
Thief.
Now, when you think about it, what was probably the least powerful class in AD&D?
Thief, fight like a
Thief.
magic user,
You know,
tap
and
your dice.
and if you were multi-classed as a thief and you maxed out your second class, like a lot of people took magic user thief as a great combination, and it was, but that thief always had a 50% penalty to their further thieving experience points because it was always divided by 2. So again, there was a lot built into AD&D to, I think, discourage play beyond those name levels. And I think that's the reason why adventures like the G series, the D series, were tournament adventures, because they could just design this stuff and it would never really fit into your campaign. Believe me, I tried it. It didn't. It was taking a round peg into a triangular hole that was 3 times too small and trying to pound a sucker in. But I don't think they really expected people to. That's why they gave you the pre-gens in the back of the adventure for these high-level adventures. They didn't really expect you to shove it into your campaign. You'd run it as a side thing. That's my thought. I probably should ask somebody from TSR days that might know.
What do you think? How did this affect like milestone levels rather than XP levels?
Well, we inadvertently did milestone levels because we were leveling after every adventure when I was in my teens.
Right.
Because that's the only way you were going to spend a summer and get to level 20.
But are you going to do like, okay, everybody goes up a level except you, Dwarf?
I have to do that for my monthly game because it's a monthly game, and
right. No,
in the monthly game, I'm running adventures. Like it just we had one session how I normally play stuff with a little bit of role playing and a little bit of then a little bit of combat and stuff, but it just nobody remembered shit over the month. So I just went through my my notes and stuff and came up with a way to make an event out of the whole campaign, and it's going good, and I'm enjoying it, and they're enjoying it. But it's just that I just adapted to how the actual flow of events were working. Now my weekly campaign is completely different. How like I always run it. There's sessions where no combat happened. It's just the players yakking to other NPCs the whole session, yet they're getting shit done. It's just not combat related.
Okay.
And Greg, there's one more point I would like to make to answer your objection. So the whole reason I started on the giving what to give humans for my Majestic Fantasy campaign is not because I was worried about balance, because I noticed everybody was making demi-human and I wanted human-dominated parties. It's just the way my setting is. It's human-dominated. I wanted the behaviors of the players to reflect the behavior of the setting. So the way I found to do that was to bribe them with extra XP for humans.
I don't have any problem with either level caps or an XP bonus for humans, but they're the same thing.
Right.
That's my point.
I will not argue that point.
Yeah,
they're not the same to me aesthetically.
Polished.
Yeah, you're limiting the advancement of one for the purpose of balancing against its pre-existing power at earlier levels, and that's fine.
It's not limiting; it's slowing. There's not much of a difference, but there is a difference.
Okay, Captain Semantics.
All right, so we have a question, and I think it's kind of.
It's not a question; it's an inquiry.
No, we have a question on the side, not you. Relax, Greg.
Greg's in combat. He's rolling for initiative.
Super Toy wants to know: have any of you guys played Mythras? Mythras is based upon the various iterations and generations of RuneQuest, and I have not. I ran RuneQuest 2 by Chaosium back in my college days. I ran a sandbox, not knowing it was a sandbox. I would call it that now. Didn't know what it was. I just knew I was running Pavis and Big Rubble, and my players We're exploring and finding the adventures. The great thing about the RuneQuest system is people aren't locked into a class. And in my
Right.
opinion, especially if you have a smaller group, classless systems, ones that are built upon skills like basic role playing is like RuneQuest, like Call of Cthulhu, and the others of that ilk, have an advantage that you don't have to go, oh, we need because I ran not Rollmaster, Space Master for a year with 2 players. And it was viable because those 2 players could cover most of the skills, maybe not perfectly,
Right.
but pretty well. But you could not have done that with AD&D. Your party, a 2-player party, is so hard to run for, to balance for. But you can do that with other systems that are classless. And in my experience,
You know what's easy? You know what system is easy to balance?
What?
And well, in my opinion, anyways, Hyperborea. First of all, you don't have to worry about demi-humans because there is none. It's all human. Secondly, it's a 12-level cap. And thirdly, any kind of special abilities goes into the men, but it's all front loaded. You get things like, at 3rd level and 5th level and things like that. But you start off pretty strong. I mean, not as strong as say a 5e. You're not a superhero like a 5e character, but that makes it easier for people to cover bases because there's 26 freaking levels in there. And if you can't find what you don't need multi-class, you need dual class. If you can't find what you're looking for in there, you're not trying.
yeah,
you know?
I was pretty impressed with what.
Yeah, but I just
Yeah.
want to say that's how I would see the level cap and all the.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I think that was Jeff trying to, and by the way, he caps the game at level 12.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Right. So that in and of itself is where 90 here, I'll pull a number out of my ass. 98% of campaigns are done at the level 12 or
And
earlier.
the funny thing about it is, it's not a milestone system. It's an XP system, but it still caps at 12. So people are going to go up like this,
Right.
which is what I want, really. I mean, I don't want them to be like this, but okay, thief, you're I leveled, cool, fine. How about you fight? No, I don't. I got another, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I did milestones essentially with Swords and Wizardry Light
yes, you
and
did.
Continua Light.
That worked.
And it works because you're only dealing with 7 levels, and I didn't want to explain experience points.
14 and
Well,
continue.
no, 7 levels in Continuum.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, it's been a while.
yeah,
Well,
but
as you guys know, GURPS was my primary system for 25 years. And,
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roger, I did.
But
I know, Rob. I'm just giving you some shit.
but no, but
you always
the
give me
thing
shit.
about
Don't
GURPS
stop
is
because of
GURPS,
me.
GURPS,
Anyway.
you don't need a large party. GURPS is like other stuff. It's you can have one character filling multiple roles, and maybe not perfectly. Maybe your character is a more specialized, I don't know, 2e bard, which is again the jack of all trades, master of none. But GURPS expects that because of the power curve on it.
Yeah. So, and the point I was bringing up the GURPS is that I like AD&D stuff. I didn't like AD&D rules, so I switched to Fantasy Hero. But too much of Champion DNA was still in that early edition of Fantasy Hero. They fixed it later, but they didn't fix it then. And then we found GURPS, and that's what we stuck with.
Hey, Rob.
So,
go ahead. No.
go on, dude.
No,
I love hearing champion stories. So,
but your Fantasy Hero always they could never get the magic system right. It's like every supplement came down. Oh, here's the next revision of the magic system.
yeah, not until they did 5e. They didn't fix it.
Well, Big Blue Book did, but 5e took it a step further.
So anyway, but I always use it with D&D stuff. So my list of GURPS monsters was similar to what I used for AD&D stuff, and I still had dungeons, except they went a little bit different because GURPS is kind of deadlier than AD&D, where they were more like stealth raids rather than kick down the door and take out the monsters kind of raids.
Hmm.
But when it came back to writing for the OSR and my Majestic Waterland supplement, I was thinking, I listened to, read the blogs, and I finally get how to run classic D&D the way I ran GURPS, but if I'm going to do that, I'm going to need skills. And I knew people at the time, and still are, sensitive about skills. So I called them abilities. But the whole point was, when it comes to stuff out of combat and spell casting, you could be better at certain things like stealth, haggling, locution, legerdemain, which is what I use called lockpicking skills. And more importantly, you can customize your character outside of your class, just like you could in GURPS. Because the way it worked in GURPS, even though in theory you could take anything you want, most characters specialize because, of course, when you specialize, you become really good at fighting or really good at spell casting. But you take a stealth skill on the side, you take a lockpick skill on the side, you take a diplomacy skill on the side, and that's where you get your party can cover a lot of bases thing. And so I wanted to keep that aspect in my D&D game, and the solution to that is to add a skill system, but not like how RuneQuest or GURPS does it. No, I only had like 15 abilities or skills in my list, and they only cover the non-combat stuff. And with that, I'm happy. When I run D&D, I use my Majestic Fantasy rules. I'm happy with that.
Works.
That works.
Whatever works.
Yeah. Oh, and I treat my classes like I did GURPS, what they call template, because the choices in GURPS, especially the 4th edition, 3rd edition, grew so overwhelming that they had to finally say, okay, if you want to be a fighter, here's a template. This is some of the options you could take as a fighter.
Mhm.
You can use it or not, but it helped the people who
idea.
didn't want to read the rule books. And I treated my classes like templates. That was the other secret that made me happy with classic D&D.
Good idea. More games should do that.
All right. So I am sadly holding up the Coke Oreo, and I'm not saying this isn't good. It actually is pretty good. But this is what, sadly, because listen, when I was a young gamer, we would have put this out on the table. This shit would have been scoffed down. People would be, there'd be Oreo crap coming out of somebody's nose as somebody gets punched in the stomach, or you make a joke, or somebody dares them to drink a full bottle of Coca-Cola as they chew down the Coca-Cola Oreo, because that's kind of what we did. And just to
kind of like beaver nuggets.
They now have Oreo Coca-Cola Zero. I have not found it as a I think there's a reason why it's zero, because if they actually made this as like a sugared drink, the calorie content would be insane, because it tastes like pure chocolate syrup that's carbonated with Coca-Cola.
Is that actually still zero calories?
0 calories. And Rob?
Actually, I like chocolate Coke.
Yeah, this now by the way, this is more chocolatey than the Oreo cookie is, which leads me to wonder if the same team that designed the cookie because I don't think they did. I don't think the people at Coke went, wow, Oreo cookies are black in color, but they don't really have this rich chocolate flavor. Chocolate, it isn't this like rich milky chocolate. This tastes like Hershey syrup, which should be a lot thicker than it is in this bottle, carbonated with Coca-Cola, and I don't know if I should like it or not.
Well, if it wasn't zero, they'd have to put diabetes included on the label, probably.
Again, I don't know if I like it.
Well, UK,
I got graduated very chocolatey.
I thought I'd have to Heimlich you for a minute there. Oy.
Oh my! It was like
$5.98 at Walmart.
chocolate shake without any of the shake. I mean,
My first wife taught me about chocolate Coke, which is exactly that.
The show is not sponsored by neither by Coke nor Oreo. We want to point that out.
This show isn't
not a,
sponsored by us or
no,
Well, they have it at Walmart.
that's where we got it.
Yeah,
That's
I'd like
where
to
we got
take
it.
this moment to say I don't endorse this filthy blasphemy, but I will not attack you because I'm not a paladin.
What's blasphemy is that?
Right. So, by the way, with the cookie, which I'm not going to eat at the
By
moment.
the way, I drink Pepsi.
Yeah, Pepsi.
That's even worse blasphemy, sir.
So,
I drink Pepsi Zero, Greg, so you're alone. Unless Chubby or
I'm in
Flint
Atlanta,
Fireforge wants to weigh
the
in.
home of Coke. There will be no Pepsi.
I don't drink a lot of soda. I'm a coffee water guy. So
there you go. You made your save.
I only drink Pepsi with the one with the real sugar. If you want real sugar in the Coke, you buy the Mexican Coke.
Yeah. But so the red part of the cookie tastes like a cherry Coke, kind of. And this is a regular Oreo. And inside, the filling is slightly
Crunchy.
crunchy. It's like small pieces of Pop Rocks. If you leave it in your mouth, you'll hear the sizzle. It's really bizarre, and it's one of those things. If your adventurers found it in a dungeon, they'd be like, "Yo, just put it back."
these are your rations. You have to take these with you. You have Oreos and
There we go.
Hey, Greg.
Excuse me, Roger. Pepsi to me is better than Coke, unless it's a McDonald's Coke.
This
Those
is so good. So good.
Look, it's perfectly fine to be wrong.
Oh,
I accept that you've been
Okay.
wrong about quite a few
Yeah.
things, Rob. I still like you.
Rob, I got your back.
Now, Rob, I have been to the Coca-Cola place in Atlanta, and I'm not shy about trying some of the things there. It's not my regular, but there's some interesting flavors there at the old.
We
Oh, I've
visited
been there, yeah.
South Carolina where Pepsi was made. So
yeah, years ago I was in Vegas, and they had
Pepsi.
a Coke
they still do.
place where you could get like Coke products from around the world. Some of them were.
Ooh.
There was one from Africa that was a plant that I could not, and it was a Coke. It tasted.
There's a banana Coke from Peru, I think it is.
Oh,
it
whoa.
You can
it
do that.
tastes really weird.
I feel bad for some of these countries because I think Coke. I don't know. I think Coke is screwing them over. I taste it and go,
You think this is Coke?
why would you drink this in this country? I don't know.
It's our specialty. We thrive on it.
And sometimes I drink Fanta Orange too, the favorite soft drink of Nazis.
Well, that is true, actually. Come to
Yeah.
think of it.
Yeah.
Don't you want a Fanta?
Fanta.
No,
I worked at a movie theater.
I favored Sunkist.
I worked at a movie
I have to
theater
say,
as a
as a
teenager,
young man, I favored Sunkist as well.
and they had the
Oh,
Fanta trailer on
Sunkist,
every movie for like a year.
berry lemonade Sunkist is great.
As a young man, this is a forgotten soda. Slice.
I remember Slice.
Oh, slice.
Oh, wait a minute. Does everybody remember one of the original diet soda? Tab.
Tab.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
My
Yeah.
mom was a big fan of Tab. In fact, it's a joke among my oldest friend. They could still hear my mom go, "Rob, get me a Tab." And
Well, I also drink RC. And in my part of the country, I can find Mr. Pibb. Makes me happy.
there you go.
If I have a carbonated drink, I tend to favor root beer, by the way. So if I have
Oh,
that
yeah.
as a treat, I will have cream soda or root beer, and that would be
And
mine.
root beer? That's the best.
If it's available, yes.
Okay. See,
they
mine
serve some kind of carbonated drink called at the Harry Potter place, the butterbeer. I don't know what it is exactly, but it is. I really like it. It's some kind of cream
It
soda.
was I had one. It was vile, but God knows it was probably like expired. My poison, by the way, if I have a choice, is Dr. Pepper. Dr.
That's
Pepper
my wife.
cherry,
Who?
if I can find
Cherry.
it.
Who is
I guess if you
who
like
is-
cough medicine.
I think it was Tim.
Hey,
Whatever,
call it like I see
Pepsi
it.
boy.
Was it Tim Snyder or somebody who likes Moxie?
Oh, there's a lot of people at the con that like.
I
Moxie.
tried Moxie. That's like drinking black licorice.
It is pure ass disgusting, but they bring it to all. You'll find it at TotalCon. Like somebody will leave like a case at a table, daring people to drink. It's like no, nobody wants that shit. Nobody wants
Now
this.
Fago Rock and Rye. That's one of my jams.
We know that we've gone beyond sanity when we're talking soda flavors.
How many are still watching? Oh,
Isn't
8 of us going ape shit. over
No,
soda.
well, we got
7 Up and milk.
we got over a dozen
Oh my goodness.
altogether. It's
Hey,
not
did it?
saying much, but
So 7-Up and milk, but did anybody try the Laverne special of which is Pepsi and milk? If you remember Laverne and Shirley, she would have I think it was Pepsi and milk, or it was Coke and milk, so one of those, I think.
I also remember
I like both, but never together.
A&W root beer freeze. It's a shake made with A&W root beer, but it's not the syrup. It's the actual root beer. So it
That'd be
tastes
cool.
sparkly. I loved it.
all right. I'm gonna pull the plug on this one before the people storm us and pull the plug on us. We apologize for I apologize for broaching the topic of sodas.
Well,
But-
you know what? I'll let you.
Oh, all right.
Eric,
I-
can I real quick? Somebody had
Yeah.
asked us about the Mithras thing, and I didn't chime this in. The
Yes.
Black Lodge Games podcast interviewed the guy who wrote it. I forget his name, and it was a really good
think his
breakdown of
name
how
is
the system
Lodge.
works and everything. So if somebody's interested in that, I just recommend that. It wasn't that long ago.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Well,
Actually,
I have a confession to make. I have never refereed Mithras. I did referee one session of classic RuneQuest, which I guess
Uh-huh.
I'll relate next time. But I like the system enough, and also because GURPS doesn't have any open content, and while Mithras did, or Legends did, that I have a quarter of a first draft for a Majestic Waterlands of Mithra or of Legends. So I'm kind of familiar with the system. It's a good system.
I thought that was it.
no. So
It's a
for
good
those that don't know, Legends is what Mongoose RuneQuest became after Mongoose RuneQuest was made
Lost.
OGL, but then they lost the license to the RuneQuest name.
Yes, but Legend was based on second edition RuneQuest, who are written by the same guys who wrote Mithras.
Right.
So Mithras is like, because you
sibling.
can't copyright mechanics, and so it's like 90% similar to well, it's not anymore, but at the beginning it was similar to Legends, and now they're off on their own path. And but yeah, the same guys who wrote Legend, RuneQuest 2/Legends wrote
Right.
Mithras. And they're beloved. They're people. They have a nice fan base. They treat them well, and they're good
That's
people.
cool.
Good.
That's the way it should be.
Oh, and their Mithras system is under the Orc license, so there's open content.
Oh, okay.
So you're saying that they're bucking the industry trend of actively hating your customer base. That's an interesting.
Let's not go there.
It's
but
a bo- it's a bold
they
strategy.
always have good relations with their customers.
Well, that's good. No, that's the way it should be, and that's not all companies have learned how to make the best decisions. But I think that you get.
Kid.
I'll just say this: they get so large that they forget that they are interfacing directly with their customers because it's a role-playing game, and the customers and they feel that they are invested in the game, and there's a little bit of a corporate disconnect that goes on in that. But that's for another episode.
That's true.
And I want to give a shout out to OpenQuest, which is more based on Legends, but it is kind of like you know how different. You know, you got Swords of Wizardry, and then you have Swords and Wizardry Light. You know, so
Right.
Swords and Wizardry Light is obviously less complex than regular Swords and Wizardry. Well, Open Quest is a less complex version of Mithra and Legend. Like they don't have hit locations, for example.
Well, yeah,
But it's still a D100 system.
right. Well, Newt designed Open Quest the moment that Legend, but not Legend, the moment that RuneQuest from Mongoose went OGL. That's when the first Open Quest was written and published.
Right.
And I think Newt did a great job with that, and his support material is awesome. So if you can find a copy, I know it's up on DriveThru, snag it. It's well presented, and it's a very comprehensive yet easily digestible version of.
I believe his version is licensed under the Creative Commons.
I believe you are right, but the original Open Quest was under the OGL. I believe you're right. I think the second edition is under the Creative Commons, but I have to double check when I get back to New York.
Yeah, Creative Commons. I'm looking at the website now.
Okay.
Open Quest 3 is under Creative Commons.
Oh, so folks, on that note,
Come on, let's go have an Oreo Coke float.
no.
Okay.
All right, sorry, I can't, and not with apple ice cream, which is what we got in the refrigerator. It's actually surprisingly good. Folks, thank you to Flint, Rob, Mr. Chubby Funston himself. Hey. Thank you to the folks in the chat. I've heard nothing bad about embedding the chat on the screen. I've heard only good things, and the lively chat certainly shows it. So, Thank you. We don't know what the plans are for tomorrow, so I don't know if Gamers Health is getting booted until Sunday yet. So normally it'll be tomorrow night. We'll know sometime tomorrow. We don't know.
All right. I don't know.
I will be recording hopefully Thacker's Hammer with Glenn and a few others on
Brian, anyway.
well, one other on Sunday, and
That's a regular podcast.
right, yeah, and there's
I'm
gonna be-
running Acts 2 tomorrow night, but none of you are invited.
well, and there should be an
You're really going to have to work on that evil laugh, Greg.
yeah, you can kind of felt
Not doing it.
Get the guy from Professor DM to do that, Deathbringer laugh for you, and it'll help you. But there will be probably most likely looks maybe I'll be able to make an announcement next week or two about another live stream I'll be a part of, but just teasing it because it's fun. All right, folks. On that note, be safe, be well. God bless.
Good night, folks.
Roll those dice. Roll them well.